Good morning. Good morning. Here we are back again. It's Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Breakfast with Jesus. And you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate having you along as we kick off another episode of whatever it is that we do here. So, certainly wouldn't be the same without any of you. So, good morning to Linda, Michael, Elaine, Rosa. Who else? Anybody else we got with us today? Dee Dee, good to have you guys along. Thank you. There's Norma. Good morning. Everyone's just kind of filtering in here as we get underway. So as I mentioned yesterday, just really interested to see where the Lord is going to take us as we move forward here in our conversation together. And I did throw out the invitation that if there are things that you'd like to talk about or have me, share with you, questions or, topics or whatever, I'm very open to that. I don't, it doesn't always have to be stuff that I am, sensing. So if if you have any thoughts along those lines, that would be great. So, but let's see. We've got Cynthia from Maine. Wow, whereabouts in Maine are you? We have a cabin in Gouldsboro, which is up in the Bar Harbor region. So I love the state of Maine. And there's Jane. All right. Good morning. So one of the things that I was thinking about, in case there's no suggestions from your side, figure I better have something to talk about. We Biddeford. I've heard of that. Okay. I don't remember where it is, but I definitely have heard of Biddeford. So welcome. Good to have you as part of our breakfast club. As we've been looking at this idea of kind of going to a new level in our authority, the idea of congruence, which I had mentioned last week or the week before, my memory for the dates is ridiculous. Old Orchard Beach, yeah, okay. It gets all sounds so familiar. I just can't remember exactly where in the state it is. Anyway, we were looking at this idea of congruence, which is basically the idea that we want our hearts and our minds to be, as fully aligned with His mind, His thinking, so that when we speak, we're speaking from that place of full agreement with Him, and I really appreciated the application of that word in the realm of geometry. Right? Who knew that there would be some math? But in geometry, they declare two figures, for example, two triangles, to be in congruence when you can take one and superimpose it over the other. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is like so spiritual, because that's what the Lord has done for us. He has basically superimposed the image of Christ on our image, so that when people meet us in all of our uniqueness, they are nonetheless, seeing and experiencing Jesus, who is in us and is manifesting His qualities in our spirit man, and we're releasing that and growing in all of that, right? So, in that realm of authority, where the Lord is saying, yes, I have definitely given you the ability, the right to make declarations, to come into agreement with me about what I desire for your life, permission for us to have desires that He's put in us, right? Based on how He created us, what He created us for. We will have these strong desires to do things that fulfill our purpose and our destiny. It's just the way He created us, right? And so, uh, as I've been thinking about that and realizing that the the biggest issue that we all have, which this is no news, you know, is this fight that we have to deal with thoughts and ideas and beliefs that are not in line, with the Word of God, with His heart for us, and all of that. And it's that war between our ears. I think I mentioned that maybe it was yesterday or last week. And that's really what we deal with. So, as I was thinking more about it and just, I was listening to some testimonies of people who are going through this process as well. My attention was drawn to one of the more familiar passages where Jesus talks about this. And this, of course, is in Mark chapter 11. And it's that great story of Jesus cursing a fig tree and how amazed the disciples were about that, And it's, within that context that Jesus says to them, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes what he says is going to happen, it shall happen. It shall be, for whoever that is, that is what they're going to have, what they have declared. And that, that idea that we actually have that level of authority to look at something, in our environment, because, that's what we were talking more about that yesterday, this idea of changing our environment, changing our atmosphere. That's a pretty significant change in environment, wouldn't you say? If there's a hill or a mountain that, ends up not being part of God's plan for your life, or it's a hindrance, it's a problem, however you want to describe the mountain, Jesus is giving us that permission to speak to it, say, get out of the way, go, and that kind of authority is, honestly, if we're really honest, it's still kind of outside our frame of reference. It's like, wow, am I really able to do that? Am I really able, to speak and have something of that significance happen? That's the struggle, right? That's where we are, Wow, Dee Dee, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, just pray for him. Just if your son is struggling with faith, it's okay. He's not offended by our struggles. So, just pray that he has an encounter with the Lord. That's the one thing now that I pray so often. Lord, just make yourself real. That helps, right? So, when we look at this teaching that Jesus is giving, whatever we say, do I really believe that that's going to happen? That's the struggle, right? That's where we are learning and growing. That's where we are identifying those ideas, those questionings, those doubts that we still carry. And the Lord's obviously well aware of it. His desire is that we would just be honest about it. He really loves the fact, or when we choose to be honest. Many times we just kind of put up with things. We'll put up with a certain level of anxiety in our life because it's like, oh, that's just life. No, it's not. It's not abundant life, that's for sure, right? Jesus wanting us to have an abundant life. An abundant life, to me, would be a life without anxiety, right? And yet, we will often live with a certain level of anxiety, stress, worry, fear, whatever it might be. It could be anger. We have a certain level of anger that's just kind of always there, simmering under the surface. All of these things that we put up with, just live with, because, well, that's just the way it is. Um, it's not. It's not his best for us. And so, our challenge, as I say, when we start to deal with this thing, say, Lord, there's this issue in my life that doesn't look like Jesus, right? You know, fill in the blank, whatever it is, right? Jesus, you don't live like that. That's what's so amazing. We're not, thankfully, we're not in a position where we look at Jesus with great admiration and praise and worship, for all that he accomplished and all that he did. We're not in that position of just simply wowed by him. We're in a position where whatever we see in him is also in us, because we're one with him. And so we get to say, well, Lord, you didn't live like that, so why should I? Right? Why should I live with, again, fill in the blank? What's in that blank for you? Why should I live in a way that is less than your desire for me, what you want for my life? What you demonstrated, Jesus, is possible. Why should I not have that? Because we should. He paid a high price for us to be able to live a life like he lived. Again, I'm not talking about, his calling, which was to go out and preach and do all these miracles. We'll do that in whatever context of our particular calling, it might be, what our purpose is here on the earth, in certain arenas of life where we're called to. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, but it's nonetheless where we get to live the way Jesus lived, in his intimacy with the Father, his confidence, his joy, his love, all the good things that he is and that he experienced is what he wants for us. So, so with respect to, the authority that he's given us, to change environment, right? This is, it's a big one. Whoever says to a mountain, be taken up, cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says is going to happen, you shall have it. It's like, wow. And he goes on to say, therefore, when you see the word therefore, you got to find out what it's there for. Well, he's amplifying, taking what he just said and applying it in a different way, or another level of it, right? Therefore, because I've created, God's saying this to us, because I've created you with the ability to say things that can change your environment, right? Because of that, he says, all things for which you pray and ask, believe that you have received them, and they shall be yours. Okay? This is what he says. So we're looking at authority now from the ultimate level. I don't know if there is a higher level than this. I haven't found it yet, and maybe you have, and so feel free to enlighten me. But, I don't see any higher level than understanding that as a son, as a daughter of the Lord, I can come before him and I can ask for him to give me something that I need. Not a need in the sense, and we talked about this the other day. We're not talking about our, physical needs for food, clothing, shelter, relationship, and all of that sort of thing. He's promised that. That's the foundation that we stand on. when I speak of need right now, it's all about what's required in order for me to fulfill my destiny. What's required for you in order for you to fulfill your destiny. And so we've got to understand this, that this is what he's invited us into. So, for me, the struggle continues to be when I ask him for something that pertains to me fulfilling my destiny, right? And for me, a lot of that revolves around resources. God's shown me some things that literally will require millions of dollars to fulfill. And so, I look at that and I look at my current situation, realizing that, okay, my pockets are, when it comes to resources of that level, my pockets are empty, right? But yet the Lord is saying, whatever things that you ask for, you've got this right, this authority to come into the presence of the Father and ask to be given things of that nature, right? Again, we looked at this the other day. The word here for ask in the Greek is literally to be to ask for something to be given, because I've determined, out of my relationship with him, out of understanding how he made me and what he made me for, right? I have come to this determination that I have to have that. Because if I don't have that level of resource, I can't do what you called me to do. Now, for you, it may be something different. That you have something that you need. Again, not the basic personal needs, but a need for something that if you don't have that, Lord, how do I fulfill what you've called me to if I don't have these things? See? And so we're asking him, please give us that, right? Give me that, Lord, because based on what you've shown me, I just know I need it. I have to have it, all right? And so, the word there, this word here where he says, all things for which you pray and ask, right? Means to be resolved or determined to purpose, okay? So I am purposing to fulfill my purpose. I'm determined, And so, Lord, there's this huge desire that I have for what I need to be able to do that, okay? And so Jesus is saying here that if that's what you're praying and asking for, believe that you have received it. Now, remember, this is the struggle. This is the struggle. Lord, I'm asking you for this, because if you don't give it to me, I don't see how I'm going to be able to fulfill my purpose in life, right? And he says, okay, pray and ask, but believe that you've received it. Not that you will receive it. Okay, that's how we think. Okay, I've prayed and I've asked, so I'm going to believe that I will receive. That's kind of how we approach all this. But the point is, Jesus put it in the past tense. He said, believe that you already have received it, and it shall be yours. This is where the war takes place. You say, well, Lord, how can I believe I've received it because I don't have it? But that's not what he's saying. He's saying, if you have prayed and you asked, you already have it. Again, we're praying in the context of his will for my life, what he's wanting for me to accomplish. Okay, that's what this is all about. So my posture here what I've got to grow into is the place of saying, okay, I believe that I've received what I've asked for. So it's already mine. It's already mine. And this applies, of course, to so many other areas of life. You may be struggling with some ailment, some sickness, some disease, or whatever. And the Bible, is very clear that it was by Jesus' stripes that we were healed, past tense. And so, having that ability to say, Lord, thank you that I'm healed. I know I'm healed. Yeah, I still have these symptoms, but the symptoms, don't speak louder than your word, your promises. And so this is, this is where we're all going, is becoming again more congruent, more unified in our thinking, in our beliefs, so that we're in greater levels of agreement with him regarding these things. So when we're in this process and we bump up against the limits of our faith, the limits of our belief, what are we going to do? Well, as I said earlier, the Lord is just so appreciative of our honesty. You say, Lord, I'm so sorry that I'm still struggling here with this. I'm still dealing with these negative ideas and emotions and all of that kind of thing. He just wants us to be real with him about it, and just present it before him. And that's really, what Paul was teaching, in his second letter to the Corinthians. I don't know we'll have much time to get into this, but when again we talk about the war between our ears, he was writing to them. Corinthians had a lot of problems, because they got saved out of a very pagan culture, very, very worldly culture. It's probably a lot like what we're seeing today, in the world, where people are just basically doing whatever they want, because I can, So he had to do a lot of correcting of their false ideas and unbelief and just not knowing the truth. So he's writing here in the second letter. This is chapter 10, starting in verse 3. He says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh." So what does that mean? Well, whatever it is I'm fighting, in my mind, so we're going to keep this in the realm of our own personal growth and warfare. Whatever I'm dealing with in my mind, I'm never going to be able to overcome it by myself. Believe me, I have looked at many, many, many ways of mind renewal and transformation that have been discovered. And they work. They really do work, but they don't work apart from his grace in our lives. We can approach all these different kinds of psychological techniques and whatnot that are out there that have merit. People are being helped by, these methods. But if we simply, all we do is that, right, then we're trying to fix a problem in our own strength, according to the flesh, which is, the word flesh just simply refers to the life that we lived before Christ, the life that we lived independent from the Lord, right? And that's not who we are right now. Yeah, we can still choose that. We can still choose to live as if we, still are, separated and independent from him, but we're not. We're just not. So Paul is making that very clear that no, don't, try to change the core issues that you're dealing with simply by applying human methods and your human ability, because it's ultimately not going to work. It's just going to fail, right? So we don't deal with it that way. Instead, we have weapons. Verse 4 says, the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses. And of course, the King James is using the word strongholds, and so that's a very familiar kind of thing. We look at the idea of a stronghold. One guy I was listening to, he said, well, a stronghold is something that has a strong hold on you. It's like, well, that's true, I guess. Or something that you have a strong hold on, that's not good. And it's true. When you think of a fortress, right, it's a place that's been built to provide protection. Well, the idea here is that somehow we're protecting a false belief, an idea that's false, something that's not, in line with the Word of God for us. And so that's the issue, right? That we, and we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. How we actually are defending, an idea because we've decided that, well, that's just how it is. Remember, we're talking about, what are we settling for in our walk with Him? Are we settling for a life that includes things that He never intended for us to live with? Again, whether it's anxieties or fears, worries, stress, and all of the effects of that, dealing with anger and bitterness and unforgiveness and all these kinds of things that we, might just be accepting as just whatever normal looks like. And it's not, right? So this authority that we've been given to change our environment so that it's out of that realm, right? Whether it's speaking to a mountain, whether it's asking the Father to give us what we absolutely have to have if we're going to fulfill our destiny. All of that is within this context of getting our minds right? Being of one mind regarding His will, His desire for us. And so, as we start to look at this, he ends. I'm not going to go through this right now because we got to go. But the point is, he says, taking every thought captive. Right. That's the idea that we want to look at. The process of, using our authority to acknowledge, Lord, this is not good. I can't continue to live like this with this mindset, with this belief. I just can't continue to live with this negative. I just got to go. I got to change the environment of my life. Okay. And so it's, he talks about taking it captive. And I love that. It's such a graphic image, and we'll dive into it a bit more tomorrow. But, so yeah, there you go. Shared, this was stuff that the Lord had shown me to talk about. Again, if you've got some things that you would like to, suggest that we talk about, I'll be happy to give those a look. So, all right, awesome. Let me say good morning to the rest of this amazing breakfast club. Let's see who else we have here with us today. Boy, I gotta scroll all the way back up here, huh? Well, let's see. There's wow. I'm sorry. I'm really scrolling all the way back up here. Let's see. Alma, welcome. Not sure I've seen you here before, and if I have, sorry, but I welcome you. Oh my goodness. What about the souls that died before Christ was born? That's a great question. And I'll touch on that tomorrow. All right. And if I forget, remind me. Okay. So Donna, good morning. Good to have you along. Cheryl, there's Jill and Mary. Who else have we got here? There's Melly. How are you? Let's see. I'm scrolling. Hey, Kathy, aloha. Man, you're either up late or up early. I'll just blow me away with that. 2 o'clock in the morning. God bless you. Wow, Regina. It's been a while. How you doing? um, let's see. And there's Patty. And I'm still scrolling. Silvana, good morning. Let's see if I missed anybody over here. Let's see. I think I said hi to you, Gloria. I don't know. It's hard to keep track. There's a lot of names here today. Thank you, Jesus. I think I've got you all. If I missed you, please forgive me. I do try to acknowledge everybody because I just love having you here with me. That's all. So listen, have an awesome, awesome day. Thank you so much to those of you that share this with your friends. I do appreciate that very much. And I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Thanks so much.